came up with this reading from Colossians, which is our scripture reading for today. As God's chosen ones, holy and beloved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, meekness, and patience. Bear with one another. And if anyone has a complaint against another, forgive each other, just as the Lord has forgiven you. So you also must forgive. Above all, clothe yourselves with love, which binds everything together in perfect harmony. And let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, to which indeed you were called, into the one body. And be thankful. Let the word of Christ dwell in you richly. Teach and admonish one another in all wisdom. And with gratitude in your hearts, sing psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs to God. And whatever you do in word or deed, do everything in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God through him. May God bless to us the reading and hearing of this holy word. Thanks be to God. May God empower the word in us. Now, I do understand that when I share some of this with you, it might be a little challenging because some of it requires us to do a little meditation. And I don't know about you, but I fail at meditation. I am not a good meditator at all. Those of you who have ever seen the movie Eat, Pray, Love, when she goes to meditate and she lasts a whole minute, that's me. But in these 8 pillars, I got to find exactly where I need to be. So the Book of Joy talks about cultivating the 8 pillars of joy that I mentioned earlier. And the first one is perspective. And they call it a self-distancing practice. Many of the practices already offered are useful for cultivating perspective. Meditative practices work to shift our perspective from our reaction, emotional brain to our more reflective, more evolving, higher brain. Getting a wider perspective, the Dalai Lama calls it. It is possible by stepping back from our situation to see the bigger picture. Scientists have called this practice self-distancing, and it allows us to think more clearly about our problems, as well as to reduce our stress response to our negative emotions. The broader perspective also allows us to get beyond our own limited and immediate self-interest into the perspective that takes into account the interests of others. As the Archbishop says, it allows us to see what serves all God's children when we are taking this guy-on-eye perspective. The ability to go beyond our own self-interest is essential for any good leader, whether it of a nation, an organization, or a family. So under this section, it asks you to think about a problem or situation that you are facing. And I look at Lisa, I know what problem and situation we've been facing. And then it says, describe your problem as if it were happening to someone else, using your name rather than the words I, me, or mine. Imagine this problem from the perspective of a week, a year, or even a decade from now. Will this issue or event still have an impact on you? Will you ever remember it? What will you have learned from the experience? Witness your life from a God's eye or universal perspective. See your fears and your frustration from this point of view. Now see all the other people who are involved in as having equal value or being worthy of love and respect. Then ask what will serve the whole world. So we tend to kind of get caught in our own understanding, and we kind of get caught in that habit of this is only happening to me, or no one understands, and so we need to recognize that, as he says in this book, 8 billion people on the planet, and that there is a connection. And sometimes when we are faced with an issue, we tend to we think that it will never end. And of course, looking at Lisa again, ours won't ever end. We are involved. She has graciously added me to her people who save the world from feral cats and help them to have a life of safety. And so this is a lifelong commitment. But I think that the more people get involved, the more it doesn't seem so large. Humility. Well, this is something that I think we need in our world today. Humility helps us to remember our common bond with others. It helps us to avoid isolation, judgment, and indifference. It helps us to remember that we are all equal, beloved children of God. As the Archbishop would say, and to remember that we just are one of 7 billion, not 8, 7 billion people on the planet. It helps us to remember that we are all in this together. So the practice under this is reflect on all the people who are responsible for your life. Think of your parents who gave you life, your teachers who taught you, the people who grew your food, who made your clothes, the countless others who are responsible for your having the life that you have each and every day. Now think of all those who discovered and created all the things we take for granted, the housing, the crops, and the medications that keep you alive. Think of all the ancestors who have lived and survived so that you could be born, who braved enormous hardships so that you could have the life that you do. Now think of the family and friends who give your life meaning and purpose. Allow your hearts to be open and experience love and appreciation for all these people. Experience the enormous joy and appreciation that comes from being in touch with all that has been given to you, and realizing how dependent we are on others and how weak in our separation and strong in our togetherness. I found that to be pretty powerful, because when we do gather and we recognize one another, and as I have always said, when we look at the face and we see the face of Christ in one another, and we recognize that we aren't as important as we think we are, and together we become stronger and we are able to solve the things that we need to solve. The next one is laughing at ourselves to develop humor. Boy, did I not do that this morning from the get-go. Humor seems like something that is spontaneous and natural and cannot be cultivated. But the ability to laugh at ourselves and to see the rich ironies and the funny realities in our life is actually like perspective, something that we can learn with practice over time. And so under this section it says, think of one of your limitations, human faults. Think of something about yourself that is actually quite funny when you can have some perspective. The Dalai Lama can laugh at his limited English. The Archbishop can laugh at his big nose. What can you laugh at? about yourselves? What can you laugh at yourselves? Will you let others feel closer to you and inspire them to accept their own limitations and faults? So laugh at yourself and laugh at life. The next time you are delayed or something does not go your way, try being amused by the situation rather than getting angry or outraged. You will notice how your amusement puts others at ease and can often smooth the situation. When I saw that particular piece, I was thinking when I was living up north, how many hours I spent in traffic. It's not rush hour because you're not rushing anywhere. And how many times I was just like angry about the traffic. Oh my gosh, how many of us have been delayed at the airport? Oh no, I always find it amusing when people are, flying out, especially up north, any time from late October to April. Possibility you're going to be delayed by snow. And how many people get angry because their flight has been delayed because of snow? I'm like, well, you're flying at the time of year when we actually do have snow. So the reality is you might get delayed. So laugh at yourself, laugh at life, and laugh at the situation because it does ease your stress and make a difference. Acceptance. Any possibility of joy requires an acceptance of reality. As the Archbishop and Dalai Lama both explained, this is the only place for which one can start to work for change, personal or global. Meditation is a practice that allows us to accept our life moment by moment, without judgment or expectation, for our life to be other than what it is. So now I'm going to ask you to do a little meditation, and I'll guide you through it, okay? So it says find a comfortable position, so kind of make yourself comfortable. It says you could rest your hands on your lap or on your legs. Close your eyes and take several long breaths through your nose. Feel your stomach rise and fall as you breathe into your belly. Pay attention to what you hear around you. Notice how the world is alive with sound as thoughts about these noises arise. Judgment, assessments, irritations. Let these observations and evaluations drift away. Release your focus on your breath, and while staying in the present moment, notice any thoughts or feelings that arise. Perhaps you will notice some discomfort in your body, or having a feeling arise, or you may have a thought about what you need to accomplish or remember to do today. As these thoughts come up, let them float away without judging them or getting caught up in them. Begin to start seeing thoughts as thoughts without identifying with them. Just observe each moment without judgment. Think of a situation that you are having a hard time accepting. Perhaps it is your difficulty in finding a job or a life partner, or it may be a friend's illness or a collective reality such as war. Remind yourself that this is the nature of reality. These painful realities do happen to us, to those we love, and in the world. Acknowledge the fact that you cannot know all the factors that have led to this event. Accept that what has happened has already happened. There is nothing you can do to change the past. Remind yourself In order to make the most positive contribution to this situation, I must accept the realities of its existence. You can also choose to recite or reflect on one of these passages from the Way according to Buddha. If something can be done about it, what need is there for dejection? And if nothing can be done about it, what use is there for being dejected? And then from Reinhold Niebuhr, God, give us the grace to accept with serenity the things that cannot be changed, courage to change the things which should be changed, and the wisdom to distinguish the one from the other. When I saw this particular piece, I thought about my grandmother, who said to me many times, because I was a worrier, there is nothing you can change by worrying about what's going on. You can't add a single day to your life, but if you continue to worry, you subtract that day from your life. The next one is forgiveness. The Archbishop became the world's leading spokesperson on forgiveness when he was asked to chair the Truth and Reconciliation Commission in South Africa by the President Nelson Mandela. Over many decades since the pioneering effort to use truth, forgiveness, and reconciliation to move beyond violence and conflict, the Archbishop has been asked, how exactly do we forgive? While most spiritual leaders, including the Archbishop and the Dalai Lama, are adamant about the importance of forgiveness, very few people talk about the actual process of forgiveness. In the Book of Forgiving, the Archbishop and his daughter, Tutu, presented a universal fourfold path to forgiveness. The step-by-step process has been made available in the world in the Global Forgiveness Challenge and has now been used by people for over 170 countries. Forgiveness can be a rather involved process, and those two resources may be helpful to those who are working to forgive major sources of pain or trauma. The resources also address how we can ask for forgiveness and learn to forgive ourselves. So here are the steps that he gives us. Telling your story. All forgiveness begins by facing the truth. Naming the hurt. The facts are the facts, that these experiences cause strong emotions and pain, which are important to name. Granting forgiveness. The ability to forgive comes from the recognition of our shared humanity and the acknowledgement that inevitably, because we are human, we hurt and are hurt by one another. Renewing or releasing the relationship. Once you have forgiven someone, you must take the important decision on whether you want to renew the relationship or release it. Forgiveness is really, I think, one of the things that is very tough. And especially those who have been hurt by trauma and abuse. And it doesn't, I think where we get caught up in forgiveness is that we think that in order for forgiveness to be achieved, we have to have the other person to say and to be involved in that forgiveness. I remember one of my mentors, who was a World War II veteran, talked a lot about forgiveness. And after his wife died, he felt like there were some things that were unsaid. And I think a lot of his experience came out of his experience of war. He actually was left for dead because he had been hit by shrapnel. and he had kind of an awakening, but it was hard for him to move along. You know, you came back from war, you got married, you had children, you got a job, and so you kind of pushed everything out. And he said to me, I feel like I didn't really, I should have asked my wife Dorothy for forgiveness. And I didn't, because I don't feel like I was the best husband she could have had. And I said to him, I said, you know, forgiveness comes from here. Forgiveness comes from here. You can say to Dorothy, who you believe is in heaven, I hope you will forgive me for the things that I have done and the inability to be a good spouse to you. And then you have to forgive yourself. And so renewing or releasing the relationship, if you can renew it, and you have the moment, renew it. If you can't, release it and let it go. Release it to God and let it go. Gratitude is the next one. Gratitude, as we have seen, is an extremely important part of joy because it allows us to savor life and to recognize that most of our good fortune in life comes from others. The gratitude practice is very simple. To expand it, you can go back to the humility practice, which also involves gratitude and appreciation for all those who have made it possible for you to be you. The gratitude practice is meant to be done daily, so we're going to do it just today, to help you appreciate the large and small things. This practice can also be done at the end of the day when reflecting on your fulfillment, or in the morning as you start your day. You can do this together with a spouse or a friend. So once again, close your eyes and recall 3 things from your day for which you are grateful. They can be anything from the kindness and generosity of a friend, to the bounty of a meal, to the warmth of the sun, to the beauty of the night sky. What are we grateful for? What are we grateful for? I think that when we take on the attitude of gratitude, we realize so many things that we can be grateful for. And we realize that in our gratitude, we also should participate in generosity. If I am grateful for the meal that I have, can I also share a meal with someone else? If I'm grateful for the extra money that I found, and we did have one member in the church who found some money along the side of the road, and instead of keeping that money, this person passed it along. When we look at our life and be grateful, then it changes how we relate in the world. Compassion. There is probably no word that the Dalai Lama and the Archbishop use more when describing the qualities worth cultivating than compassion. In short, the Dalai Lama feels the educating our children to have more compassion is the single most important thing we can do to transform our world. But we do not need to wait for the next generation to grow up before we can start to experience the benefits of compassion. Indeed, cultivating compassion for even 10 minutes a day, the Dalai Lama said, can lead to 24 hours of joy. Expanding our circle of concern is essential for both our well-being as well as that of the world. Cultivating, I love that. We can transform the world if we teach our children about compassion. And how do our children learn about compassion? From whether or not we actually are compassionate. We are compassionate. They learn from us. And one of the things that I feel is missing in our world today is compassion. People don't seem to be concerned about our town, our community, our country, our world. They don't seem to be concerned about the earth that gives us life and sustains us. They don't seem to be concerned about the animals that are here and the joy that they can bring into our lives. So this one's a little longer meditation. So take several breaths. Think of someone you love very much, a relative, friend, or even a pet. Try to see their face in your mind's eye and to feel their presence. And notice how your heart feels when you think of them. Feel whatever arises. If you feel warmth, tenderness, or affection, stay with those feelings. If not, just stay with the thoughts of your loved one. Then, in your mind, say, may you be free from suffering. May you be healthy. May you be happy. May you find peace and joy. Carrying your love so that your loved one and bringing them peace and joy. Rejoice in the thought that your loved one is happy for one more minute. Remember when this person was having a difficult time. Notice what it feels like to experience their pain. Does your heart ache? Do you have feelings of unease or a desire to help? Simply notice the feeling and stay with them. Then offer in your mind, may you be free from suffering. May you be healthy. May you be happy. May you find joy and peace. Imagine that a warm light emerges from the center of your heart and touches the person you have in mind, easing their suffering. Finish with the heartfelt wishes that they have been free from suffering. Think of a time you experienced great difficulty and suffering when you were a child or perhaps even now. Place your hand on your heart and notice the feeling warmth, tenderness, and caring toward yourself. Reflect on the fact that just like all people, you want to be happy and free from suffering. And silently say, may I be free from suffering. May I be healthy. May I be happy. May I find peace and joy. Imagine someone you neither like nor dislike, someone you might see frequently at work or at the store or gym, but do not have a strong positive or negative feeling. Reflect on the fact that just like all people, this person wants to be happy and free from suffering. Imagine this person being faced with suffering, in conflict with a loved one, or experiencing despair or grief. Allow your heart to feel warmth and tenderness and caring for this person and urge to help them. And silently say, may you be free from suffering. May you be healthy. May you be happy. May you find joy and peace. Reflect on the fact that everyone on the planet has the fundamental desire to be happy and to be free from suffering. Fill your heart with the desire that all can be free of suffering, perhaps even someone with whom you have a difficult relationship, and silently repeat this phrase: may all beings be free from suffering. May all beings be healthy. May all beings be happy. May all beings find peace and joy. Allow your feelings of compassion and concern fill your heart and feel warmth, tenderness, and caring. Compassion. Forgiveness. I think that particular exercise reminds me of what's going on in the world. And that at some point in time, we have lost our ability to be compassionate. Disheartened, I think, was the most recent post I made on Facebook to respond to some of the stuff that somebody was saying. I said it saddens me how people treat one another. The name calling and the anger. It's okay to disagree. But do we have to sink as human beings to the lowest possibility? Can we just be kind? Compassionate prayer. Compassion, a fast. And then generosity. Compassion, as we have discussed, is necessary, but not sufficient. It is the impulse to help others, but the action that follows from the desire is generosity. Generosity practices are so important that they formalize and even mandate in many of the world's religions. Here we have presented 3 forms of giving that prescribed in Buddhism, which involves material giving, giving freedom from fear, and spiritual giving. Many Christians tithe their income, giving 1/10 of what they earn, and others expand this giving of 1/10 to time, talent, and treasure. It is this regular concern for others that we experience the most joy. Material giving. There is no substitute for helping to lessen the inequality and injustice that are such enduring features in our world. Whether you tithe or give, this is really the beginning of weekly and even daily practice of thinking about how you can give to others. Giving freedom from fear. This can involve giving protection, counsel, or solace. This is how we can give of our time and our attention. Who needs your presence today? Do your children, your spouse, your parents, your colleagues, your friends, or even strangers on the street need your compassion and your caring? To whom can you reach out and support? And then finally, spiritual giving. You don't have to be a holy man or a spiritual teacher to give in this way. Spiritual giving can involve giving wisdom and teaching to those who may be in need, but it can also involve helping others to be more joyful, that generosity of your own spirit. Seek to be an oasis of caring and concern as you live your life. Simply smiling at others as you walk down the street can make an enormous difference in the quality of human interaction in your community. And it is this interaction that is most responsible for the quality of human life on an increasingly crowded and lonely planet, our affluent and still impoverished world. Generosity. All of these things lead us down the path of joy. May God grant us the joy that we seek.